We're going to take a brief time to hear from a couple of our primary sponsors. They're going to speak on some of the issues that we're facing. And first, I'd like to welcome up our registration sponsor, ProAction Insurance. And on behalf of ProAction, I'd like to welcome up Kofi Bass. Are you coming up there, Kofi? Let's go welcome him up. And he's got over 10 years of experience in sales, management, and training. And he's going to speak to us a bit today on some of the insurance thing. You can pop this out.
Thank you, Michelle.
You got it. Thanks.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Kofi.
There you go. And good morning. Again, just to introduce myself for those of you that do not know me, my name is Kofi Bass. I'm the Business Development Officer for ProAction Insurance Services. Give you a little background on ProAction. We've been in business since 2003. We've been serving the businesses in the healthcare industry. A lot of times, you'll probably see me out and about at different events, so if my face looks familiar, that's probably why. And then also with our staff, we have some of the most experienced professional groups as far as serving your industry today. I'd like to welcome everybody to the first annual American Board of Home Care and the Symposium. And also like to congratulate everyone here for being at the right event, as well as being in the right industry. The right event meaning we're all here to provide information and help each other in guidance to make our business thrive and grow. And the right industry, because as you know, going forward, there's going to be a growing need for all your services. As one of the largest populations, the baby boomers will be in need of health care. During that time and process, there'll be a lot of consolidation. There'll be a lot of growth. There'll also be a lot of healthy competition, which is always good. And through that, the best trained organization with the strongest leadership will survive and prosper. The reason I'm here in front of you today is I have some very important information to relay in reference to how to protect your business from catastrophic losses caused by accidents, neglect, mistakes, and even lawsuits. How many here, show of hands, have been in business for 4 years or less? Okay. And anybody from 5 to 9 years, show of hands? And that magical 10 years or more, how many are here? Okay, a lot. Congratulations. And the reason why I asked that question is with great success, especially in this industry, sooner or later you will become encountered with a huge loss or a huge lawsuit or a claim. If you have, excuse me, if you have a successful business, protection and prevention is essential. Protection meaning just choosing the right kind of coverage for your particular business. Prevention meaning there are employment practices in place like screening, hiring, documentation, proper training that's being established at your locations. Not having these key components in place would put a lot of grief and stress on the business owner. Let me tell you about some events that have recently happened to business owners like yourself throughout the industry. A few years back in Hollywood, there was a home health agency administrator. She was on her way to see a patient, and her husband was driving when they all of a sudden got hit by a car, causing them to swerve and hit a pedestrian. Now, the pedestrian was a young, successful professional himself in the prime of his life. Unfortunately, did not survive this tragic accident. The couple that owned the home health agency were at a huge, potential loss, finding themselves in a large lawsuit, potentially owing a lot of money. As you and I would be, they were concerned, as well as their lawyers, on this outcome. Their house, their business, financial assets, savings that they have is all at risk at this point. Fortunately for them, they had a great liability policy in place. And the insurance company or the insurance claim ended up settling for $1 million, which was paid for by their insurance carrier. Another story I'd like to share with you is, excuse me, a couple years ago we had the privilege and the opportunity of doing a quote for a workers' comp policy. The applicant at that time decided to not purchase the policy, for she was just starting out and she did not have a large payroll. What she did call us back for was she was being faced with a workers' comp claim from an employee that she did not have coverage for. The claimant also was being represented by a labor lawyer. So now she's finding herself responsible for the medical expenses of the employee, lost earnings and wages, as well as the attorney and legal fees that were assessed. Now, the home health agency, instead of them focusing on what they really want to, now they're potentially losing revenue for the fact that their focus is shifted to the workers' comp suit, as well as spending a lot of time with attorneys. She was also a registered nurse, and not having workers' comp is considered fraud. So now, if convicted, she faces the opportunity of losing her professional license. Another event that happened, just recently actually, there was a home health agency that wanted to start a hospice. And the owner of the agency, did his due diligence, hired somebody that was a licensed professional healthcare worker, and thought that they were qualified in the rules and requirements of running a hospice. Over the next year or so, this key person, the processes and procedures in place, they also were in charge of hiring personnel. Well, one of the personnel people eventually started having conflict with this key person, which eventually led to the termination of the employee. The terminated employee then came back with a lawsuit against the agency claiming wrongful termination, and also claimed whistleblower status, accusing the agency of not being compliant with regulations. The case found itself in front of a judge, and the judge awarded $350,000 for damages, restitution to the terminated employee. Now, that hospice agency did not have coverage, and now they find themselves having to come out of pocket to pay the settlement in cash. The last story I wanted to share with you was up in the San Fernando Valley. It was a home health agency, and they had one of their patients, along with one of their nurses, that they had staying at a residential care facility for the elderly. During that stay, the patient passed away. The family of the patient then sued the RCFE and the home health agency, claiming negligence for the death. The home health agency, good news for them, is they had insurance coverage for such an incident. And so the insurance company that they had was able to provide them and appoint them a good experienced liability lawyer, as well as getting the case to settle after a couple of years. And I believe it settled for about $175,000, if I'm not mistaken, with another $50,000 added, of course, in legal fees. But they didn't have to come out of pocket. The RCFE, on the other hand, was not so lucky. They did not have coverage for this incident and found themselves not only searching for an attorney that would take this case, not having coverage, but once they did settle, they had to pay $275,000 plus their legal fees for this case. Now, not having coverage, not having the cash to pay, eventually she was led to sell one of her facilities to be able to come up with the money to pay for the settlement. All these stories have a common thread. They have a common theme attached to them. Things happen. Whether you expect and maybe anticipate, that something might happen and prepare for it, or even if you don't. And a lot of times we don't. I think it was Forrest Gump that kind of had that famous line, right? Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And that's life in a nutshell. These things also will just make you want to be prepared, want to be ready to protect your hard-earned business. A lot of you spend a lot of time building your name, building your brand, hiring employees, giving people opportunities for them to be able to provide for their families, and you want to make sure all of that is protected. The other thing is making sure that you're speaking or talking to an experienced professional who understands the inherited risks that are associated with your business. I give an example. Everybody here watch football? Yes? I'm I'm sure we have some teams. I don't want no rivalry stuff to start, so I won't ask that. But, you know, if a football player decided, you know what, I'm not going to have these pads on today. I'm not going to play with this helmet. I'm a lot faster and quicker without it. What do you think is going to happen to him as soon as he gets on the field and catches that pass? He's probably going to get hurt, right? Well, the same thing could be applied if you're out there doing business on the day-to-day, not protected, not covered. Eventually, sooner or later, you are going to get hurt. I also compare it to an example. If you're in the court, and let's say all of you here are on criminal trial, and you need to be appointed representation. Would you want somebody that maybe dabbles in a little bit of everything, general counsel? Would you want somebody that does a little bit of tax law, maybe divorce, maybe dabbles a little bit in commercial or corporate law? You probably want somebody that's experienced in your particular case, right? Especially if your life is on the line or your freedom is. You want somebody that understands your particular case and probably has a good track record on top of that. You don't want somebody that's 0-30 and never won a case. Do the same for your business. Take the time out to really investigate and get the opportunity to work with people to understand where you're coming from. ProAction, it's all we do. We work with home health, we work with hospice, we work with home care, we work with facilities. That's all we do. We don't do general, auto or house or group health insurance, none of that. We work specifically in your industry and for you. You guys do a diligent job of being out and about on a daily basis, providing services for these families and provide a place and service for their loved ones. And I'm sure if they were here, they would want to thank you and wrap their arms around you guys. But the other side of that question is, who's looking out for you? Who's looking out for your best interests? Who's asking those questions to find out what you need? What new services you might come up with? Maybe now you decide you want to do a pickup program where you want to pick up the seniors and bring them to different locations, take them to the park and take them to the museum and things like that. Are you covered for it? Those are questions and concerns that not only your broker should be asking, but the communication's got to be back and forth with one another to make sure everything is good and make sure we're all on the same page. Last but not least, I wanted to leave you with just a little tidbit and a remembrance from ProAction. I wrote a little poem before you boo me and throw apples. And it goes a little something like this. We are your home care insurance specialists since 2003. Matters that we can handle at least cost with no complexity. Protecting you from accidents, mistakes, and negligence, you see, is why we are perceived as an ally throughout the industry. Being niched in your business, we know what you go through. This can be an expensive cost if you don't know what to do. Let us be that light in the dark to help guide you through. We want to protect your interests and show you we are here for you. I hope you like this rhyme. Thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you all prosper and shine. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.